Hey, this is Seth with In Demand Career. I show people how to get life-changing jobs in digital marketing with no previous experience or education. And that includes my very special guest today, James, who is only 19 years old and working full-time in digital marketing and has been in the field since he was just 16 years old. That's right. You can see I have previous interviews with him when he got a part-time job when he was just 16. And his most recent job before this one, he was making $48,000 a year working part-time when he was about, I think, 17 or 18 years old. Now he's 19. He has a full-time position where he makes a lot more than what he was making in his previous job. He actually isn't allowed to say the exact salary because of his contract, but I'll just say it's a lot more than his previous job, and it's more than most college graduates are making, even though James never went to college. His story is very inspiring. I'm very excited to share it with you. Thanks for being here, James.
Thanks for having me, Seth. Great to be here.
Awesome. So why don't you tell people a little bit about your current job that you have right now?
So at my current role, I work as a PPC specialist, mainly with Google and Facebook ads at a marketing agency in Perth, and I work full-time, 5 days per week at the office. And yeah, I'm currently loving my role. I'm learned so much over the past year, and yeah, it's been such an amazing experience.
That's great. And I remember actually talking to you. James actually is a little different. He actually had a remote job previously, but he actually decided he wanted to work in the office. He wanted the socialization, which I think is also a really good advantage of working in an office. So what's it been like working at this job when you said you just turned 19 years old. What's it been like working in digital marketing, managing these ad accounts with your coworkers who I'm sure are much older than you? What's that been like for you?
Well, I'd say like difference between working remote and in the office is that in the office I've been able to just like ask a lot more questions, just being proactive. And I've just been able to focus better when I'm in the office as well compared to remote. So that's been a positive side. In regards to managing Google and Facebook ads account, like ever since moving to this role, the amount of growth I've had has literally like just 10x compared to where I was at in my previous role. Because in this role, I've got to manage different Google and Facebook ads account with different industries, being involved in more client meetings and client communications. Although my role isn't really client facing, I've still had that hands-on experience. And I've just been able to become a more overall just a better T-shaped marketer, gotten dabbled into a bit of email marketing as well and SEO, just have some base fundamental knowledge in that. And yeah, it's been an amazing experience. The amount of growth is just literally been insane. And this is the growth that I really needed. The company that I'm working at, they treat me really well. They prioritize work-life balance. I've rarely had to like work overtime, probably worked overtime like a few times, but other than that, like I never work overtime. I just literally clock in and clock out at the exact same time every day. Allow me to have a lot of time for myself. So yeah, this job has been everything that I've asked for, and it's just been such a journey for me. So, and I wouldn't have it any other way. So I've been really enjoying my role for the
That's
past nearly year and a half.
That's so great, man. So why don't we I want to, people want to obviously know how you got into this position, especially at such a young age. But I was curious, I'll just rephrase the question a little. Do you feel people respect you given your age? Do you feel you get along well with your coworkers? Or do they trust you professionally? Do they treat you well or do they treat you differently, do you think, because of your age?
Yeah, that's a really good question. So I remember when I went in, so my coworkers treat me just as respectfully as with anybody else. They don't look down on me just because of my age. As a matter of fact, they told me that like they're so glad to have me on board and they said I'm so really good at what I do, and the value I bring to the team as a PPC specialist and to the client. So my coworkers treat me really well, and it's not like they look down on me just because of my age. As a matter of fact, I would say they don't really give too much of a damn. They just, as long as I get the work done, and as long as I do what I'm supposed to do, that's really all that matters for them. But I remember like my manager when we were like before when I joined the team, that was just before I turned 18. So I technically wasn't in legal age to drink, alcohol. And I remember on a Friday afternoon when my manager said, "Hey, James, do you want to go out and go for a beer, drink?" And I was like, "Oh, I'm actually 17." And she was like really shocked because they didn't actually know that I was 17 at the start. They thought that I was in like my mid, early to mid 20s. They mainly because of my maturity. That's what they said. And yeah, like they were really shocked at first, but yeah, like my colleagues, they treat me really well. Some of them are really shocked at what I'm doing at such a young age. So yeah, it's been nothing but a welcoming, warm experience, and I've gotten so much respect from them. Put
That's
in,
fantastic.
so yeah, it's been amazing.
Yeah, it's funny you say. I think I had a student who was like 20 who had a similar experience in the US with the drinking age is 21, but I guess it's 18 in Australia. That's awesome, man. And then again, before we get to how you got here, what is the size of the budgets you're managing? I'm just curious. Like, are you managing like how much a month? Like, a few thousand, 100,000, like what's the scope?
So I would say at my current role, the budgets I manage budgets for like small local businesses. So I'd say within the range of roughly 300 to 10K per month. One client in particular is around within the 10 to $20,000 budget range. But other than that, most of the budgets are pretty small. I'd say 300 to $3,000. So yeah, managing
The
those.
the total of all the accounts then.
Oh, the total. I'd say total. Just trying to think. I would say roughly around 60 to $80,000.
A month. That's
Um,
great.
if
Yeah. I
you
just like to point
include
that out,
the
guys.
Facebook and
That's,
Google ads.
I'm sorry, what?
So I was just saying, if you include the Facebook and Google ads, I think it's around that range.
Yeah. I just wanted to point that out, guys, to anybody watching and say these are serious jobs and you'll be taken seriously even at a young age because you're managing real money spent by real businesses. And they will hand somebody that kind of a budget if they demonstrate the skills and the competence and the aptitude. It's really not about the age. So it's very, very impressive. So everybody watching wants to know, like, how did this happen? How did you get here at age 19? Why don't you, can you walk people just briefly, give a brief overview of like how you got started, even going back to when you found the course? I think it was like, what, 3 years ago or something? I think you were 16 when you first found the digital marketing course, and just kind of tell people what happened that ended up, leading you to this point now.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I still remember the day when I found your course, like when I signed up to it. I think it was like April 2021, so nearly 4 years ago now. And that time I was 15 years old. And when I joined your course around April 2021, and it took me like a month or two to complete the whole course, and took me a few months to apply and get my first job. Well, before I got my first job, I got my first internship around September 2021-ish. And I got my first internship. It was supposed to be a 3 month unpaid. That was just more for experience, getting my feet dirty, just gaining hands-on experience on client ad accounts, which it was a really good experience, just getting my feet wet, getting my foot in the door. And I worked there till like February 2022, so around 6-ish months, like 6 months. And yeah, the reason I left that internship, long story short, it was pretty toxic culture there, and they didn't like pay me as agreed and kept delaying my work contract. There was like a bit of drama and issues there. So yeah, I quit that internship, and from February 2022 for March 2022, there was like a 3 month gap. And then like that's when I started applying to my first paid role, and I kept applying for 3 months, going interviews. And then I got my first real paid job at an agency in Melbourne. It was part-time, 4 days per week, and the salary was $48,000 per year. So full-time, that would have been $60,000. And I worked there for some time. I think it was around 10 months. Can't exact. I worked there until like early 2023, and then it was in early 2023 where like an employer reached out to me for a job interview and with a full-time offer. And during that time as well, that agency, before I left that role, they had to like cut my hours to like 1 day per week just because a big client left that agency, and because due to like low budgets, they had to like cut my hours, cutting expenses. And so yeah, but yeah, so before I left the role, that's pretty much what happened. But worked until February 2023, and that's when I went on interview, and then I got another job, full-time job at a marketing agency in Melbourne. And so initially I was super happy. I was so stoked that I got that role. But long story short, within 3 weeks, I actually got let go from that role. Because I made like a mistake on an ad account, and yeah, I got let go for that reason. And during that time, from like early March to when early March 2023 to October 2023, that was like a pretty rough stretch for me because I kept applying to digital marketing roles during that time, but I didn't get any. Although I was getting interviews, I wasn't getting any offers, and I just felt really discouraged. And at one point as well, it was in July, where I actually worked part-time at a solar company doing door-to-door sales. And I remember doing that. I did that for like 3 months from July to October. And I remember getting a message from the CEO of the company. He said that he wanted to interview me. And I still remember this, like, I replied to his message like a week later. So I was like, oh damn, like I'm probably not gonna get the role, probably found someone, but I'll still respond anyways. But he said he was happy for me. He was happy for me to come in for an interview. And I was like, oh, this might be something. And I remember I came into the interview, came into the office. And yeah, initially, like, I thought it didn't go that well. I was pretty nervous and kind of stumbled a bit here and there. But um, a couple days later, I think it was like a week later, because it was on a Friday, and then I got a message, and I got like a call on a Monday. I got a phone call from the CEO of the company that he wanted to give me the role. And I was so stoked. I was just jumping out of my seat. I was just so happy that I was able to find a role again. And yeah, from since then, I've been working at the company, and it's been a lot of ups and downs, but regardless of the ups and downs, it's been an upward trajectory overall. And it's been such an amazing experience. It's been huge learning growth for me, learning period, and nothing. And I couldn't have been more grateful
Yeah.
for all the opportunities that I've been given.
Yeah. Wow, man. That's you really said it well. Um, sorry, loud motorbike went past. That's amazing. Guys, there's so much to unpack in what he said. If you go back and look at some of our previous interviews, you'll see you had this 15-year-old came to the course, hustled so hard, learned the concepts, was getting results. He got an internship, got a part-time job, got a full-time job, and had some ups and downs. And I think it's great that you're transparent about it, but you ended up landing on your feet, as you say, in this great role. And I think it's very inspiring to anybody who's watching this. People like you, like me, I've been fired from jobs. I've had, ups and downs. Everybody does. When you see these interviews, I think some people watching them think, oh, everybody who takes the course and is a success story it's just was easy for them and it's perfect. No, people have setbacks, and that's part of the journey. And, but this is the important thing, is to say that, like, all the stuff that you went through. And then I think it's interesting, you got a door-to-door salesman job. I have a good friend who did door-to-door sales, and he was telling me how it's one of the hardest things to do, and it's one of the most it grows you. It really grows your communication skills, your tenacity, all these things. I'm sure all that played into your growth over the last 3 years. And I'm really proud of you and excited for the fact that you're doing this before you're even 20. You're going through that period you had of time where you were kind of struggling after, I think it was the second or the first or second job. A lot of people go through that in their 20s. They go through a period of difficulty or some type of, letdown or disappointment. And you did it so much earlier, so that now when you run into struggles in your professional life in your 20s, you're already going to have that experience. You're just way ahead. But I think it's worth mentioning. I remember when you got that internship and they didn't pay you. I got really pissed. Actually, you contacted me, and you were so level-headed. I was going to go after these guys. I was looking up labor lawyers in Australia. I don't know anything about Australian labor law, but it's illegal anywhere to hire somebody, like have them sign a contract and then they work and then you don't pay them. That's illegal. And I felt like very attached to this situation. I was really emotional. I was like, I'm going to find a lawyer in Australia. We're going to sue these guys. We're going to get you paid. And you were like, why don't you calm down, Seth? It's going to be okay. I'd rather just put this behind me and move forward. And I was like laughing about it because I'm like twice your age. And I was like, getting all, it really bothered me. And I'm happy to say, guys, that in my experience in 8 years, almost 9 years of doing this, I don't run into these types of situations very often where employers are like sketchy like that. But you had the right attitude, which was put it behind you, move forward. And you did. And I knew you'd find something, and you did, and you found the next job. And then if you made a mistake, and I know that's what a big fear everybody has, is it's true. Sometimes, you make mistakes, but the big takeaway is that it didn't end your career. You had a setback. It was, I'm sure you learned a lot from it. And then it sounded like when you were ready, you weren't even looking, this CEO reached out to you, and now you're in your current position. And I think it's fantastic. I mean, just think about what, you could have spent 3 years in college learning nothing, going into debt. And instead you spent 3 years getting yourself into this field, making now a better salary than a lot of people who are twice your age, and so much great experience. And I really love the fact that you seem to really love your job. So, all this stuff is really fantastic. What was I going to ask you? Along those lines, I know James had said to me, before the interview, we're not going to share his exact salary, but he's doing quite well. And I wanted to know if you could share. You had mentioned that you had made an investment last year. I don't know how much you want to share with people about that, because I think that kind of illustrates how well you're doing. Especially, I think you're probably just 18 when you did this.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, a huge milestone for me last year was getting to purchase my first investment property here in Australia. And just side note, I did this with my own money, didn't really have my parents. My parents didn't like fund me. They funded me just like a little bit, but like 95% was like mainly my own money. But they did help me with like the purchasing and the legal, and just like guiding me through the process, because they've been through that before. That was like such a huge help. That's better than money, honestly, receiving money from them. But other than that, I did it pretty much with my own savings, and that was through working for a few years and working through that time and saving as much as possible, and using that to invest in assets that grow and pay income, rental income in this case. So yeah, that was a huge milestone for me. I remember it was like a little bit stressful, going through that loan application process, even like with the loan, I got denied a few times here and there, but in the end, I persevered and then I bought a very solid investment property. And the tenants manage it really well, have amazing tenants, have amazing property managers. See, that was the biggest milestone for me by far.
That's so awesome, man. I mean, guys, how many night? I mean, how old were you when you did this? 18, right?
Yeah, yeah, correct. I pretty much last I did this. I technically made the purchase like because I settled like April 2024. So it was like 3, 4 months after my 18th birthday.
Wow. Guys, I love it. I just think this is a great example for anybody watching. This should be more common. Someone who's 18 is, getting practical skills, making their own money and from his parents, it sounds really wonderful too. His parents didn't just pay for everything. They educated him, they guided him, which is so valuable. I have a really good friend who's been in real estate for 10 years and he's helping me. That knowledge and experience is so valuable. Because now you're going to know more and then you're going to be able to buy more properties and you're working and you're saving and you're so far ahead in general, but also again ahead of all those poor young people your age who are being told to go to college and study, like philosophy or something and come out with no practical experience at all. So, but I think that's really good. As you said, you're investing in an appreciating asset. Real estate is always going to go up. You're making rental income. You have a great job that you love. You're saving money. This is all really, really fantastic. Yeah, and I'm very, very happy for you. How when we first spoke, your parents seemed to be very supportive of your entrepreneurial, inspiration. What do your parents think now of this current job that you have? Like, what do they think?
Yeah, I mean, same thing. They're still supportive. They've always been supportive. They've been supportive of me buying an investment property. So yeah, they've just been supportive until the end, very end until now. And like sometimes I forget like and don't really appreciate enough like how supportive they are because like kind of used to that kind of treatment. But yeah, I think it's just I have to remember like, wow, that my parents really do support me, especially compared to like other parents who are like put a lot of pressure on the kids to strive for the highest education or go to this college, get this SAT score. But yeah, my parents are like that. They're just proud of what I'm doing right now. As long and yeah, they'll always support me until the very end. So super appreciative of their support.
That's awesome, man. I think we mentioned that in a previous interview. I said how rare it was. Again, you said so many parents are really blind and they really pressure their kids to go into debt, go and, take out those student loans. They don't even understand the future career prospects. So I think it's really wonderful that your parents are, I think your parents are business owners. So, that's usually how it goes. Like they know the reality of what you need to survive in this and thrive in this world, and they're giving you that support, which is just awesome.
And I think the biggest thing I want to share is like don't get discouraged. There's ups and downs in life. The reason I wanted to share like my hiring, well, my me getting landing the role, but also getting fired is because there's ups and downs in life. We make mistakes, but you have to bounce back from it. You have to stay persistent. And that is what I really wanted to preach in this message because I also want to share that not everything is perfect, like every life has its ups and downs, but if you persevere through it and if you just like if you stay consistent, then you will reap the results.
Absolutely, very well said. Yeah, man. I mean, you're living proof. You're walking the walk, and that's really great advice, especially for anybody watching it who is considering this field or is in the course. Guys, remember, this is, you know, you've seen, you can make such fast process in this field, but it does take that winning attitude. And James, I just want to thank you for, sharing your story with everybody. I think it's very inspiring. Is it okay if people write you a message on LinkedIn if they have any questions?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn. I'll be happy to answer. And
Awesome.
yeah, I'll also
I,
be happy to have like even a video chat with you if I wouldn't mind sharing my knowledge and my experience, helping people get into the digital marketing field. Wherever you're at in your journey, just feel free to reach out. Don't hesitate.
That's very generous of you. And I'll just make a note for you guys, because James, you have to understand, sometimes you might get a lot of messages. Every one of my students that agrees, to share their LinkedIn, I'm so appreciative. And guys, just be patient, be appreciative, be respectful if you do reach out to them. Understand that whether it's James or one of my other students, they are working full time. So I'm just preparing you, James, in case you get a bunch of people messaging you and you don't have time to talk to everybody. Just encouraging everybody to be patient and appreciative. But that's very generous, man. It's up to you if you, want to, write back to people or talk to them. That's all between you guys. I really love the community aspect of the course. I think everyone who's taken it and gotten a career in this field, I love how excited you are about it. You want to share and encourage people. So that's really awesome. So yeah, guys, the digital marketing field continues to grow. And as AI becomes more powerful, it will become part of digital marketing. It will enhance digital marketing. It's not going to take over digital marketing. There's still a huge demand for people working in this field. And I think your story was really great to say the fact you were out there knocking on doors, doing door-to-door salesman job, and you weren't even looking, and somebody came after you for this current job. That's correct, right?
That's exactly right.
Yeah. Yeah, once you have the skill sets, I'm telling you guys, these companies, things keep growing, even though, certain economies in the world are a little slower than normal, interest rates, blah, blah, blah. Everything is continuing to evolve and grow, and digital marketing is still one of the best fields that you can be in. And if you want to learn more about that and you haven't yet, please click the link below this video. Check out my free webinar, how to go from zero to a 60K a year job with no previous experience or education. This is the process I've helped people go through since 2016, and it just continues to grow. So check that out if you have not already by clicking the link below this video. And I'm also going to leave James's LinkedIn link in the description below this video. Thanks again, James, so much. Is there anything else you want to say to anybody watching before we end the interview?
I would say just whether you're getting started or you're looking, if you're getting started or if you're going through just a rough patch in life, I'd say just everything's gonna be just fine. As long as you stay consistent, as long as you stay persistent and just have a long-term perspective, everything will work out just fine. And I know in the moments, if you're going through some hardship, some struggle with your career or even in life, it might seem like the world is ending, but I promise it's not. If looking back at it, you realize, oh, it actually wasn't that big of a deal. And if you just stay consistent with it, just stay super consistent on a daily basis, you will reap the results and you will see so much progress long term.
That's great. Thanks, James. Yeah, well said. Yeah, and a long-term gratification. I have the same lessons like everybody else. When you get impatient or you get too emotional about certain small things, and you lose sight of the big picture and the long-term goals. And that's why I encourage people who are signing up for the course. Remember, this is a long-term investment. You're not going to get a job in a week. You have to go through the material. You have to learn the skills. You have to provide value. You have to go through the process of getting your first job and then to your second. But over time, like you're a great example of this, over time, all that investment you made when you were 15 and beginning to learn these skills turned into this life you have right now. So thanks again, James, for sharing your story, your enthusiasm. It's very inspiring. Let's stay in touch. I'm excited to, see where you are even a year from now, and we'll talk soon.
All right. Just before we end this, just wanted to share another thing. I'd say if things aren't working, whatever you're doing, whether like you're applying for jobs or you're going on interviews, like whatever, or even during your career, like things aren't working out for you, instead of just complaining, I'd say don't complain, really take a step back and see where you see what's like, see what's wrong, see what you need to improve on, or, maybe get a friend or like an expert in the field, or maybe you can hire a consultant, whatever you need to do, or even, I would say just take a step back, see where you're doing wrong, and work, improve upon that mistake so that you can, move forward and make progress. Because, I love the quote from Albert Einstein: the definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So if something you're doing right now isn't working, try something else. Really take a step back, see what you're doing wrong, and then work, improve upon that, and you will progress and see better results.
Awesome, James. I can see you have a real passion for this. I know I love hearing it in your voice, and that you want to share and help people with this insight and perspective, and everything you said is spot on. So I hope that this conversation inspired you guys. Thanks again, James, for sharing your experience and your enthusiasm and your support for people here. And we'll stay in touch, and we'll talk soon.
All right, catch you later, Seth.